What is up? Welcome in to the DNVR Nuggets pregame lounge. I'm Harrison Wind alongside superstar Dev Johnson. We should be joined by Brendan Vogt as well pretty shortly, but just a two-man crew for now. Superstar, what's going on, man?
I mean, the two-man game, like, this is when everyone else like has to take off. I feel like this is a pretty good like tandem that we're gonna compete. We're gonna make it a very good game.
We'll make it respectable.
We're not gonna go out and just like get blown out or anything like that. We're gonna do our thing to make sure that we stick around.
Yeah. We definitely will do that. We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Of course, when you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, make sure to use code DNVR when you sign up. Apparently, we went with the funky music in the pregame. We got producer Yair running on the ones and twos today. Kale's not producing the show. Switch it up on us. What with the funky music? That has single-handedly raised the expectations for this evening.
See, I was like already like a little bit excited. You know, it's a Friday night, you know, lounge. It's also an early game. You get to go against Atlanta, a team that's like right there where you are for during the season. But then you add in the jazz music, the funky music. Let's do this.
High expectations for tonight all of a sudden. Let's go into game notes. We actually have a lot to go over because there's just a lot happening with the Nuggets, a lot happening around the league as well. Let's hit the injuries first. So the news that came out this morning, the Nuggets announced Marcus Howard has a left knee sprain. He's going to be reevaluated in 6 weeks. This is along the lines of best case scenario, it feels like, for Denver, because that was an ugly injury that he had the other night against Minnesota. He's still going to be out a while, 6 weeks, but it's not a torn ACL. It's not a season-ending injury. Now it sounds like Denver's going to be able to get another hardship exception, and Davon Reed, D. Reed, he could be back with Denver pretty soon here, but it seems like they avoided a worst-case scenario with Marcus Howard. That's a ray of good news in what's been a season of really bad injury news.
Just taking a look at that injury and then seeing that, just throw it out there. Like, this is beyond good news because I really did think that this was season-ending. Like, I felt like that was such an injury that, you really don't come back from. So for it to be not as bad as perceived or thought, like, you just got to be excited for those type of things. I mean, it's already been a next man up approach. Having Marcus Howard on the floor to begin with was a next up approach. You don't want another player to go down and also a backup point guard that goes down with a actual injury. So I'm excited. I'm glad that he avoided anything that was serious.
Definitely. Some other injury/COVID news for the Nuggets. Bol back in COVID protocols, health and safety protocols for the second time in 2 weeks. Also, Michael Porter Jr. is in health and safety protocols as well while he's rehabbing from lower back surgery. The second one is more surprising to me because I haven't even seen MPJ around the team really at all. I don't know if he has been, but he definitely hasn't been on the sidelines or around the team much from what I can tell. The Bol one, I wonder if Anthony Edwards testing positive has anything to do with that, considering they just played, the other night. But we got some good news with Marcus Howard, some unfortunate news with those two.
Yeah, just unfortunate. I mean, with the Michael Porter Jr., I mean, there's a lot of things that could have happened. He wasn't playing anyway. Not to say that makes it okay, but, that doesn't really affect the team, at all. But with Bol, it's just, first off, it's happening so often where he can't even find a rhythm. He's not playing much as is. And then also, the Nuggets continue to get injured, and they're continuing to have to switch guys around, and you want to keep guys fresh and healthy. So you never know when his time will be called. So not having him available, and also the Nuggets having so many guys down right now, is just unfortunate. Whoever it is that is not going to give him those minutes, especially a guy like Bol, that if there is an injury, if there is another person that goes into protocol, not having him there or having his opportunity when his name is called just makes it tough.
Yeah, there was some news that came in right before we started recording that the NBA is probably going to allow teams to add additional replacement players if they have a bunch of COVID protocols guys that are in those health and safety protocols. So the Nuggets will probably get Davon Reed back here and maybe, could get somebody else as well. But let's talk about tonight's matchup. For Atlanta, Clint Capella is playing tonight. So is Onyeka Okongwu. Bogdanovic is out. But what are you looking forward to for tonight's matchup if you had to focus in on one thing?
The way that that the Nuggets defend Trae Young, I feel like that's been something that that we've been keeping a close eye on, especially with with Aaron Gordon. That was the first cross guard matchup that we've seen this year, or at least one that we started to pay attention to, because Trae Young is a very small but shifty guard that can affect your team and the way that you try to defend the Hawks. The Hawks seem to be playing really well right now. Guys are starting to play a lot better. John Collins is playing better. Capello's playing, a little bit better. So I want to see how they can affect the way that they run things. In the first matchup, Aaron Gordon did a really good job of not actually stopping Trae Young, but giving him different looks where he has to try to impact the game in different ways. He has to try to score or be aggressive, which takes away from him being an incredible, passer, and also just like a guy that can just get into the teeth of your defense and affect it in that way. So I think the way that they defend against Trae Young is the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to today, or seeing if they're going to try to switch it up and maybe not put him on him. Yeah,
I agree. That's the biggest storyline for me probably. He guarded Trae Young pretty much exclusively last game. Like, that was his main assignment. And you were talking about how he made it tough on him, but didn't exactly hold Trae Young to a bad game. Trae Young, 30 points, 9 of 16 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3, 5 rebounds, 9 assists in that game. But we both watched it, and we talked about it after the game that night in the post-game lounge, in the winner's lounge. He made it tough on Trae Young. He really made Trae Young work for everything he got that night, and Denver held the Hawks to just 96 points. So Denver did a really good job of trapping him last game, getting the ball out of his hands too. He did have those 9 assists, so I bet we see a similar game plan from Denver tonight. Looking forward to it. Michael Malone also, in his pregame comments, he was just talking about the COVID stuff going around the league right now, how that's weighing on his players. He said, in terms of a mental state, he thinks they're in a pretty good spot. He said, these are trying times, but I never feel like it's too much with our group. I think by the culture that we have, the group that we have, the continuity that we have, we can lean on each other and help each other get through it. This is obviously a resilient team. So I totally feel like with this Nuggets team, really no matter what's going on around them, once a game starts, it's a game. It's like go time, and they kind of take it that way. And all the distractions, they go away for 48 minutes.
Yeah, especially they're professionals. At the end of the day, these are professionals, and also you don't get to this point of your career or be in the league and stay in the league by just sitting the bench. Like, you're the best at your profession. You've been at the top. You've been a guy, like a top guy at some point in life, and now you're trying to bounce back. You're trying to get these minutes. For a lot of these guys, it's not like, oh, it's a bummer this guy's out. This is an opportunity for them to get more time, or to get a different look, or to prove that they can still be at the top of their game. So the Nuggets are not a team that is tanking. They're not a team that is trying to look for those excuses. If there's guys out there, they're going to try to compete. We got to see that when they got a win without Nikola Jokic, their best player. You just have guys that are going to just have to step up and just have to do it in different ways. So there is no excuses for that team. This whole year has been down. This whole year they've been having all these health issues, and you don't see them packing it up. They're still going to try to compete. They still have the best player in the world, and they're going to try to do it every single night.
Yeah. Just speaking about the defense team-wide, not just Aaron Gordon on Trae Young, that's probably also going to be a tipping point in tonight's game. Over the last 15 games, the Nuggets rank 29th in defense. That's a huge fall from where this team was defensively early on this season. And I feel like you've kind of seen it slip from guys up and down the roster. I don't know if Nikola Jokic's defense right now is as good as it was at the beginning of the season. Aaron Gordon maybe has slipped in spots as well. Will Barton potentially too. I just think team-wide there's been a lot of slippage defensively, and that's been reflected in the numbers. 29th in defense over the last 15 games. It's a big chunk of games. That goes all the way back to that loss against Dallas that started a 6-game losing streak that Nikola Jokic missed a lot of time with. But collectively, Denver just has to be a lot better defensively.
Yeah, and this is also going to be a real challenge for them on that defensive end. This is a team that likes to pick up the pace. They're going to run on makes and misses, and you can see that with like a higher total. They also have multiple guys that can explode or go off at different times.
Yeah.
And also you just talked about those matchups and just seeing like how it is defensively. One thing that really like stands out to me is if Aaron Gordon does have to defend Trae Young's, or if they choose that route, that opens up John Collins to be defended by a Jeff Green. You know, like that changes things up. But then if you don't, you allow Trae Young to just, have his way. So there's a decision that has to be made, but this is also a good game to just like really gauge where they are on that end of the floor, and also see if they like are going to try to get back to being like a top defense again.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. The 500 club. The 500 club. There's a defined 500 club in the NBA right now. Two of the teams in that club are playing tonight. The Nuggets are 14-14. So are the Atlanta Hawks, 14-14. We've also got a bunch of other 500 teams. The Wizards have slid from their hot start. They're 15-15. Philadelphia 76ers still haven't traded Ben Simmons. They're 15-15. The Celtics, I don't even know what's going on with the Celtics. They're 14-14. And then out west, like I said, the Nuggets and the Dallas Mavs, 14-14. If you had to maybe pick one of those teams that's been kind of underachieving this year, or one of those teams that stands out to you in that 500 club, other than Denver, let's throw Denver to the side for a second. Who would it be?
That's actually standing out in a positive way?
Or in a negative way, I was going to say.
In a negative way, I would say the Sixers.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a lot of expectation coming into this year. Also, they were a team that has been on top of their division every single time. They're a contending team that seems to, be around every single time. Granted, I know that they're missing their starting point guard and also all NBA type of talent, but I just expected them to still be around in that Eastern Conference. I felt like it would be the Nets, the Bulls, and the Bucks there. Yeah. But now you see guys like teams like the Cavaliers, the Hornets on top of them. I did not expect that. So they're a team that really do stand out for me, and also a team that I feel is going to do some things that make a run or something like that.
Do you think they make a run while Ben Simmons is just idling in LA or wherever he is right now?
Yeah,
or do you think they have to trade him for that to happen?
I think they're pushing as hard as they can to trade, but also I feel like this is putting pressure on Joel Embiid to actually have to play a little bit more games.
Yeah.
He doesn't get the luxury to buy time and take nights off because they're starting to drop more and more as the season goes on, and also they're in his prime for one, but also they're playing with a guy that doesn't want to be there. A player that is under their contract for multiple years that does not want to be there. So I feel like they're going to be to the spot that they have to make a trade or they have to make a move, even if it's not the one that they necessarily want. But it's going to do you're not going to get peanuts for Ben Simmons. You're going to be able to get something, maybe not what you wanted, but you're still going to get something that's going to help them.
Yeah. My team that stands out to me in that group is Dallas. At 14-14, the biggest reason why they're down there is because Luka has had a very underwhelming start to the season. Yeah. 25.5 points, but his percentages are just awful. He's just 33% from three, 8 rebounds, 8.5 assists per game. Of course, a lot being made about how the shape he came into the season in. But, I remember 2 months ago in October when very prominent national analysts would be like, don't be surprised if the Dallas Mavericks are a threat in the West. And look, we've watched Dallas play the Nuggets already this season. They're just not impressive. They're just not. They've got the same team they had last year. They don't pop. You know what they're going to do every time down. I just don't really see what I think other people saw in this Mavs team.
Yeah, really also with your best player not playing to the best of his ability, first off, can't relate. Like, just can't relate.
We have no idea what that's like.
So, like, that's really what they're going through.
Your player just doesn't step up to the table when your back is against the wall and they really need him to? Can't relate.
Can't relate. So, I mean, I think that's where that comes from. Because if Luka's playing out of his mind and playing at the level that he has been in the past, they're going to be up, 4 or 5 more games, and then we're not having this discussion. But he has been a bit underwhelming. He also has been going through, injuries of his own and just not bouncing back. But when you look at that roster around him, that's not really a good team, really. Dallas is not a team. And I've also that goes to show how good Luke has been playing and the level that he's been playing. Because, I don't think that they're a team that is going to play well. And I don't feel like they will be there when it matters. But also with Luka not playing to his best of his ability, it makes it a lot more difficult. So that is a team that also stands out.
Is there anybody in this 500 club that other than maybe Philly that you expect to climb out of here? Do you see any potential in the Wizards? Are you a believer in them at all?
No, I see none in them. I actually feel like they're going to drop here soon.
I don't either after watching them play two nights ago.
That's a team
4 nights ago.
First off, how are they winning? Like, really, that roster is bad. Bill isn't even playing like how he's been playing in the past.
Bill was very underwhelming.
That's them just starting hot and not looking back. But the team that I feel like that's down here that I feel is going to start rising is the Celtics.
Okay.
They finally have both of their star players back. They got Jaylen Brown. They have Tatum starting to finally, play right or well back to himself. I know Vogt is upset about those type of things, but I really do feel like
probably why he's not here right now.
That's a team that can bounce back, and they will bounce back and get back to playing the right way. So I feel like out of all the teams that are down there, they're a team that's going to go on a run. They just got off a win. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. So you're starting to see them start to come up, and I think that they're going to go on a run here shortly.
Cool. All right, let's move on to segment number 3, kind of piggybacking off the 500 club. Let's move up in the standings. Let's play a little game of contender or pretender. So if we look at, the NBA standings right now, there's some separation, definitely in the West, a little bit, not as much in the East as well. I'm going to throw a team at you, Dev, and you're going to tell me if they're a contender or a pretender. I'm going to start with the Utah Jazz. 20-7, third place in the West right now, behind Golden State and Phoenix. Is Utah a contender or a pretender at this point in the season?
These guys are frauds.
Yeah.
They're pretenders.
Come on, yeah.
Just because, we see this every single year. We see them go on these long runs. Right now, they're on an 8-game winning streak. And no one ever hears about it. They go on these insane streaks where they'll throw off 10, 15 games in a row. First off, if the Nuggets got 10 wins in a row, we're going crazy. Everyone needs to hear about it. They're not going to talk about it on the national stage, but everyone else is going to be talking about it and things like that. We're going to be going wild. On Twitter, we're winning today. Utah goes on these wins, and it's because we've seen it so many times before where they're able to do that. Donovan Mitchell's having a good year. Rudy Gobert is having a good year, as always. They're at the top of their division, every single time. But we already know if there was a playoff series, it doesn't even matter if the Nuggets are missing guys. There's one guy that they cannot hold, and he owns them. And I feel like if this was a playoff series, the Nuggets would beat them. I think it would be a tough one, as far as maybe go 7 games. But I feel like that's a team that the Nuggets can beat every single time. So I think these guys are pretenders.
I love it. It's not going to really matter what the Jazz do in the regular season. It's all about them proving everybody else wrong, including you, in the playoffs. Regular season.
So because I don't want it to make it seem like I don't think that team is good. Utah is incredible in that regular season.
Oh, a flawless regular season team.
Super good. They defend at a high level. They rotate the ball. They play the right way. When it matters, are they going to win a championship? Would you put your money on them to win a championship or even make it to the conference finals? No for me.
Yeah. Let me know in the comments too what you guys think when we're talking about all these teams here. I want to give you a team in the East now. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets for a second. If they're a contender or a pretender, because this news also came out this afternoon. Kyrie Irving is back on a part-time basis. He's going to be working part-time for the Brooklyn Nets this season, it sounds like. He's going to be playing in road games, still unvaccinated, so he can't play in New York. Road games that are not California. So, pretender or contender, the Brooklyn Nets?
They're pretenders to me.
Okay.
They're also pretenders. First off, how do you just allow a guy that's your franchise player to play half the time? Like, you're just giving him, like, what he wants at this point. You know, like, if you're going to be a researcher, go be a researcher. We pay you to be a basketball player.
Is he going to be able to juggle research and basketball? That's my biggest question.
Hard.
Because this is going to cut way into his time spent researching.
Yeah, but also he's part-time. You do have to remember that he's part-time.
He can research during home games.
And there's a lot of teams in that California. Like, there's a lot of teams he's not going to be able to play against. Yeah. He also can't play in Toronto. He can't play at home. Really, when is he going to play? This is just like saying, like, hey, you know, you're on the team. We're, like, trying to, like, we're with you. We're not really with you. Also, Kevin Durant's going to have to play out of his mind every single night. Every single time. I think that's what makes them pretenders, because as good as he is, like, really, I feel like he's really a top 3 player in the world. You're going to have to play at that level every single night, and he's had his run-ins with injuries. That just, you know, it's a part of basketball. It's a part of the game. Right now, they're getting it done. They're winning with, you know, 7, 8 guys, and guys that I've never even heard of. So right now, they're playing incredible basketball. Like, I have to tip my hat to it. But in the playoffs, when it matters, is your foot too big to win a big game? And we haven't seen it. So I feel like they're contenders as far as they have the roster for it.
Yeah.
But those guys can't bring it together or come together. And then James Harden, I don't know what he is right now.
Yeah. I'd probably have to put them in the contender pool just because Kevin Durant's been that good this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably in the MVP conversation. The Warriors. The Warriors, who this news also broke before the podcast. Klay Thompson's going to be back in January. Klay Thompson hasn't played in 2 seasons, but he's coming back in January. The Warriors already lead the West, or they're tied for the lead in the West right now with the Suns. Steph Curry, his play's dipped a little bit, but I expect it to go up now that he's got this 3-point record monkey off his back. Do you think the Warriors are the top contender right now in the West?
I feel like they're contenders as far as, like, that's a team that you would bet on. That's a team that it's going to be a tough out every single time. But I think they're pretenders because I don't think that in a playoff series people are afraid of the Warriors. Like, right now, Curry is playing, you know, some of his best basketball. I mean, not, you know, this last week or two, because it has dipped. But, like, they're playing great. They're winning games, you know, at a high level. They're one of the top teams, but this is a team that we just saw in the play-in game. Like, we haven't been seeing them, you know, win a lot after their, you know, championships. So I feel like they're going to have a lot of questions when it comes playoffs. They're also not going to have the size when it comes playoffs. Like, right now, you could get away with playing Draymond Green at the center. But you don't have Wiseman, you don't have a backup center or a guy that actually can compete against these other big centers in the league or stop a guy. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to win a playoff series against Rudy Gobert or, you know, Jokic with Draymond Green as your top center. So they're in the same boat with me as Utah, where they're really, really good. They're playing well enough to be contenders, but when it matters, it's going to be very, very hard for them to win a playoff series.
Yeah. What do we think the Nuggets have to do to jump into the contender pool? Unless you think they're in there right now. I don't. I think Denver's more in the 500 club than talking about a potential contender. But if the Nuggets want to jump up into the contender status, I think the biggest thing that has to happen is Jamal Murray has to come back. And there was a report out there, I think the comments have been talking about it a little, and we talked about it on Thursday's show, me and Brendan Vogt, that there was a report he might come back in February. That would be about 10 months since his ACL surgery, which is like the earliest people come back until this season when Spencer Dinwiddie came back in 9 months. But I don't know. Like, the Nuggets haven't put a timeline on it. They haven't announced anything. I feel like All-Star break would be a good goal. But if Jamal Murray comes back and, you know, is 90%, 85%, maybe even 80%, I think that could jump the Nuggets up to fringe contender or contender status, because you're just putting another really good scorer, another really good dangerous threat next to the best player in the NBA. And like that would help so much right now.
Yeah, I really think that right now they are not contenders, just because there's a lot of questions that they have to answer. They don't have a bench unit right now. Having Jamal back changes that, where you put Monte Morris, who's been playing as a starter, in the second unit. That actually just catapults your team by so much, because he meshes with every single lineup, and you would have a starter type of player right there alongside them. But they just have to get healthy. They really do have to get healthy, and then try to find some time or buy some time where Jokic is not playing every single second or every single night, where he can take a night off, or he can not have to play in the fourth quarters every single time. So yeah. I feel like health is a big factor of why I don't have them as a contender, but they're still a team that when it comes playoff time, they're going to be right there. And if you get Jamal Murray back at 85%, you're a contender.
Yeah. The health thing is funny, because this is what I've been trying to tell people. Like, Jamal Murray is the next guy coming back from injury, Michael Porter Jr., I don't think he's coming back this season. PJ Dozier isn't. I'm not counting Marcus Howard in this thing, but the guys that are injured, it's not like they're going to get them back at some point this season other than Jamal. So we'll see. But I agree. Jamal Murray playing at 85%, that might push Denver up to contender status. Let's go to our best DraftKings Sportsbook picks for the night, courtesy of Superstar Dev. Get out your phones, fire up the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code DNVR when you sign up. Let's try to win some money tonight. Let's make this Friday night a little more interesting. What are you liking?
Nuggets come in as 3.5-point underdogs.
Okay.
Against a team that they already beat. Like, you're going to give them 3.5 points. And I feel like, I'm not going to say they're healthy, but this is not a back-to-back. This is, them rested and ready to bounce back. I take the Nuggets with 3.5 points. If you're going to give me those points, I'm going to take it.
Okay.
Especially against this team. And we know what Aaron Gordon does and how he just, shifts things for Trae Young. The Hawks go around their best player, as every other team does. And the Nuggets have a guy that can rattle him. So I like the Nuggets with 3.5 points. The over-under at 225.5. That's high, but the Nuggets have been covering every single game, it feels like. At least in their last 10 games, like, it's up. They're picking up the pace. They're getting pushed to that, and it's because that defense is down. Is this a game that the defense has to shift and they're going to try to slow it down? I think so. So I would go under 225.
That 225, that's gone up, because on yesterday's show I made a DraftKings pick of the week and I took the over, and that number was not 225. Yeah, it was definitely lower.
225.5 is a lot of points.
Yeah, but these are two really bad defenses. I was just talking about how the Nuggets rank second to last in the league in defense over the last 15 games. The Hawks defense is not good either. So I think this could be a good offensive game too.
Yep. So since I see that the time is pressed, I want to get these guys my lock of the night.
Sure.
My lock is going to be Nikola Jokic rebounds. Like, we're going to just keep riding that, because we see what it is. He's also going against Capella, who's going to push him to have to go after more rebounds, he knows he has to be aggressive on the boards, or you're not going to get the rebound. Yeah. So you have John Collins, you have Capella. Jokic has to outwork both of those guys to get rebounds. I think that he gets it. And he's been getting that really, really fast. I feel like he's getting like 9 or 10 in the first half. So for them to keep it at 11.5 and things like that, where he's getting 17 to 18, 19, get that early, like, while you can.
Here's a stat for you. Nikola Jokic has not had fewer than 10 rebounds in a month. 11 games straight, he's had over 10 rebounds. He hasn't had less than 10 since November 14th against the Trailblazers, when he only played 28 minutes in a blowout. And the 4 previous games before that, he had 10 plus. So that's as big of a lock as you can get.
Yeah, I love that. I've been not doing my thing that I've always done.
What's that?
I'm going to go on the other side as well. I feel like John Collins' points, rebounds, and assists is something that I'm keying in on. I feel like if you have Aaron Gordon do a cross matchup, then you have Jeff Green versus John Collins. That's a mismatch to me. I really do think that John Collins is just too talented for him. So I'll do that on the other side as well. Game's about to start.
All right, guys. those are your bets for tonight. Hopefully we win some money, and hopefully we're back here in 2.5 hours for a Winner's Lounge. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you guys then.